Morning, everybody. It's Mr. Spottleson. Today is Wednesday. I'll be posting this around 8 a.m. And this will be the final review. Today for the video, I'm going to keep it short. The only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over the questions from the review guide. I haven't looked at them yet. When I'm done making this video, I'm going to go through and provide a little feedback to be able to help you guys, see what you guys are missing. There will be a Canvas conference today at 12, from 12 to 12:30, where I will be. If you have any questions on anything, I can give you a hand. But it's very important that you get on and you check your answers using this video and make sure you're doing everything right. The quiz will be exactly like this assignment here. Okay, there's absolutely no surprises. So let's go ahead and get started here. All right, number one here is solve x squared plus 10x equals 39 by completing the square. Okay, the first thing we want to do is check to make sure that our variables are on the left and our constant numbers on the right, which it is. After that, we want to make sure there's nothing in front of x squared, which there isn't. And then we can go ahead and use b over 2 squared. So we're going to do 10 over 2. And then square it. 10 divided by 2 is 5. 5 squared is going to give me 25. Once I get that number, then I'm going to go ahead and add that to both sides. So x squared plus 10x plus 25 equals 39 plus 25. Once I get that, I can start simplifying first by factoring factoring that. So what multiplies to give me 25 that'll add to give me 10 is going to be 5. So I'm going to have x plus 5 and then squared equals 64. Once I've simplified, I want to square root both sides. So I'll be left with x plus 5 on this side, and it's going to equal plus or minus 8. From here, then, there's two cases. Okay, 1 and 2. 1 is going to be if x plus 5 equals 8, and 1 will be x plus 5 equals negative 8. Nope, I wrote 8 there on accident. Then, to finish that up, we're just going to solve each one. So minus 5, we're going to get x equals 3. And minus 5, we're going to get x equals negative 13. So my two answers in this case are going to be x equals 3 and x equals negative 13. All right, so that is your answer to the first one. Question number 2 here. We're going to do the same thing, solve by completing the square. We want to make sure that the x's are on one side and the constant's on the other, which it's not. So we're going to have to subtract 20, and get x squared minus 12x equals negative 20. From here now, I've got my constants on one side, my x's on the other. I check to make sure that there's nothing in front of the x squared. In this case, there isn't. So I can go ahead and use my b over 2 squared. b is negative 12, so it's negative 12 over 2 squared. Negative 12 divided by 2 is negative 6. Negative 6 squared is going to be 36. Okay, so I'm going to add 36 to both sides here. So x squared minus 12x plus 36 equals negative 20 plus 36. From here, we can factor what multiplies to get me positive 36. That'll add to give me negative 12. That's going to be negative 6. So I'm going to have x minus 6 squared equals 16. Once I'm here at this step, I'm going to square root both sides. I'm going to be left with x minus 6 equals plus or minus 4. And I'll have my two cases from here now. Case 1 is x minus 6 equals positive 4. Ooh. My alarm's going off. And then case 2 is going to be x minus 6 equals negative 4. And then we can solve from here. Add 6, I get x equals 10. And add 6, I get x equals 2. My two answers are going to be x equals 10 or 2. Okay? All right, moving on. In this one here, we've got 2x squared minus 8x minus 12. By completing the square, write your answer as a radical and a decimal. So if it says that, that means you're not going to get a perfect square underneath the square root sign. So we'll see what happens here. Okay, step 1 is to make sure the variables are on one side and then the constants on the other. So I'm going to have to add 12 over here to get rid of that. So we add 12. So here we'll have 2x squared minus 8x equals, and then 12. Now, step 2 was to make sure there's nothing in front of the x squared. In this case, there is. And to do that, we're going to divide by 2 everywhere. Do it to all of them. So once I divide by 2 here, I'm going to be left with x squared. Divide by 2 here, I'll have negative 4x. And divide by 2 here, I'll have equals 6. Okay? From there now, I've got my constants on one, or my variables on one side. I've got my number on the other. There's nothing in front of the x squared, so I'm good to go ahead and do my b over 2 squared. Okay, negative 4 is b, so negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. Negative 2 squared is 4. So we're going to add 4 to each side. X squared minus 4x plus 4 equals 6 plus 4. Simplify here, so we're going to factor this. This will be x minus 2 because negative 2 multiplies to get 4 and adds to get negative 4 squared equals 10. Here's where it becomes a little bit different now. Okay, when we square root both sides, square root this side, this becomes x minus 2. And this becomes square root of 10. That does not simplify at all. Okay? We add 2 over. Add 2 over. I'm left with x equals 2 plus or minus the square root of 10. Okay? To finish this up, this is one of my answers right here. This is what, if you notice in the question, it said, write your answer as a radical and a decimal. That's my radical. And then my decimal is going to be 2 answers. So we go to our calculator here. We go 2 plus the square root of 10. I get 5.16. Or I do 2 minus the square root of 10. And I get negative 1.6. Oh, I'm sorry. Negative 1.16. There we go. Okay. So those are my 2 answers for number 3. All right. Let me zoom out so you can see the whole problem. I know there were some questions that I had on that step there, so you can kind of see that, how it worked. All right, negative 4 is using the quadratic formula. Okay, let's remind ourselves first that the quadratic formula is negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay. For each problem, you just want to go ahead and identify what A, B, and C is. Okay, so A is 1, B is 2, and C is negative 8. And that all gets plugged into our equation here. So negative 2 plus or minus the square root of 2 squared. Now, Remember to put parentheses around everything that you plug in. So 2 squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 8 all over 2 times 1. Okay, we do a little simplifying now. Okay, so we put a little equal sign there. Then we do negative 2 plus or minus. Now this is where our calculator comes in handy. Okay, we just want to plug in again everything underneath that square root. So exactly how it appears. So I go 2 squared minus 4 times 1, all in parentheses, times negative 8. And I get 36. So I've got the square root of 36 all over 2. All right. And from here, I'm going to have negative 2 plus, okay, square root of 36 is 6 over 2. Or I'll have negative 2 minus square root of 6, which is square root of 36, which is 6 over 2. My two answers in this case, negative 2 plus 6 is 4. 4 divided by 2 is 2. Or negative 2 minus 6 is negative 8. Negative 8 divided by 2 is negative 4. Those are my two answers right there. 2 or negative 4. Okay. 3 more. All right, same thing, use the quadratic formula. Okay, so let's write our quadratic formula down first. All right, negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. All right, we identify our a, our b, and our c. In this case, a is 3, b is negative 4. Now, I went a little bit too fast here. We're going to have to take this 4 over. And to take this 4 over, we're going to have to subtract 4, and it's going to end up being 3x squared minus 4. Oh, I'm messing this up. Minus 4x minus 4 equals 0. So my c value is also going to be negative 4 there. Okay. From here, it all gets plugged in. I have negative 4, so that's just going to become 4 plus or minus the square root of b squared. So I'm going to have negative 4 squared minus 4 times 3 times negative 4 all over 2 times 3. From there, we can do a little simplifying. So we'll have 4 plus or minus. Let's go ahead and do in our calculator what's underneath. So we'll do in parentheses negative 4 squared minus 4 times 3 and times negative 4. Close the parenthesis. I got 64. Get away. There we go. Okay, so I got the square root of 64 all over 6. All right, so if we do this a little bit more here, we're going to get 4 plus or minus 8 over 6. So we'll have two cases. We'll have 4 plus 8 over 6, and we'll have 4 minus 8 over 6. Okay. And our answers then are going to be 4 plus 8 is 12. 12 divided by 6 is 2. And 4 minus 8 is negative 4. And then negative 4 over 6 is going to simplify to negative 2/3. There's my two answers there. Okay. We have 2 more here. This one is solve the quadratic formula. It's going to say right as a radical in a decimal, which means that we're not going to get a perfect square. Okay. The first thing we got to do is move this 5x over and move this 1 over. So we end up with 3x squared minus 5x minus 1 equals 0. I've been writing my quadratic formula down every single time just to be sure. Negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Once I have that, we can identify our a, b, and c values. My a is 3, my b is negative 5, and my c is negative 1. So we have negative negative 5, so I'm going to have 5 plus or minus the square root of negative 5 squared minus 4 times 3 times negative 1 all over 2 times 3. Okay? Then from there, we're going to simplify. So 5 plus or minus. We've got to do what's underneath the square root here. So I have negative 5 in parentheses squared minus 4 times 3. And then all in parentheses, negative 1 as well. Hit equals, and I get 37, which we expected to get something that wasn't a perfect square. And then all over 2 times 3, which is 6. So this right here is my radical answer. And then we need our decimal answer. So you're going to do case 1, which is 5 plus square root of 37 over 6. And then you're going to have case 2, which is 5 minus square root of 37 over 6. Okay? And remember, on this one, I said to do something a little bit different. I said to calculate the top, then divide by 6. So calculate the top, hit equals, then divide by the bottom. So in this case here, I'm going to do 5 plus the square root of 37. I'm going to hit equals, then I'm going to divide by 6. Okay, and my first answer for case 1 is going to be 1.84, or I'm sorry, 1.85 if I round. So 1.85. And then the other one is going to be 5 minus the square root of 37. I'm going to hit equals, then I'm going to divide by 6, and I got negative 0.18. Which doesn't sound right, so I'm going to just go back and make sure real quick. Okay, I got that one right. Let me check the first one that we did. I don't know why I'm getting a weird answer there. I'll have to check. But as of right now, 1.85 and negative 0.18. Okay, and the last one. Use the discriminant to find the number of solutions to 3x squared minus 2x plus 4. Remember that the discriminant was b squared minus 4ac. That is all. Let's identify our a, our b, and our c. For this problem, we've got a is 3, b is negative 2, and c is 4. So we're going to have negative 2 squared minus 4 times 3 times 4. That whole thing goes into my calculator. So in this case here, I'll have negative 2 squared minus 4 times 3 times 4. And I got negative 44. If I get a negative answer, I get no solutions. Okay? If I would have got a positive number, the answer would have been 2 solutions. So positive equals 2. Negative equals no. And 0 equals 1 solution. Okay, but in this case, I got a negative number, which means no solutions. All right, so that was just a quick run through of all 7 of the problems from the review guide. I hope that you go through each one and check them, make sure this is what you got. If you didn't get something, touch base, try to see where you made a mistake. I'll post the quiz. It'll come up at like midnight tonight, so you'll have 24 hours to do it. I'll need to get it by Thursday, and I'll make a small video showing you how to you take the quiz and walking through each problem, making sure you understand everything, and making sure you get that parent signature on there saying that you didn't, ask other people or, watch the videos to complete the test or anything like that. So I'll put that on there tomorrow, and it'll be due at the end of the day on Thursday. Okay? So thanks for checking over your answers. I will see you in the video about the quiz. Thank you.